Hello and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So we are going over High Performance Habits by Brendon Berchard, and we are on habit number 5 today. So before we jump onto that, we are going to invite some people onto here. Wow, my shoulder workout was good yesterday because it hurts to lift my arm.
It means it worked.
Yep, means it worked. Didn't work unless it hurts. There we go. All right, got it. All right, so we are on habit number 5, which is develop influence. So power is 2 kinds. One is obtained by fear of punishment, and the other is by acts of love. So here are a couple of just the influence basics. Just ask. So performers fail to ask. Underperformers fail to ask all the time. They let fear and judgment. There we go. There we go. So they let judgment or rejection prevent them from speaking up and asking for help and trying to lead. So you won't know where you are when it comes to influencing people until you ask questions or start asking for favors. Because you know the people that with high influence where they could just make a phone call and say, hey, this is something that's going on. I want you to get on board with this. We need to roll right now. Now, it takes time to build up that type of influence with people, but you don't know where you are with that person until you ask the questions. And most people are timid to ask other people for a favor and to take a look at what they're doing, which is why Jeff came up with the Do Me a Favor script. I feel like this has moved. Just slightly. You just push me over more. That's fine. But anywho, we have the Do Me a Favor script in the school, which is, hey, can you do me a favor? I just started working on something outside of my full-time work, and I want you to look at it, so in case you run into somebody who would be a good fit, you can refer them to me. That way there's no obligation for the other person, and they're like, okay, no problem, I could do you a favor. Most people like to help. If they can help somebody out, people do like to help out if they can. So they're open to looking at the information. And then at the end, since they come into it with an open mind, because of the way that you showed them, sometimes people come around and they're like, you know what? I like this. And then you're like, okay, cool. Well, let's move forward then. The next one, give and you shall receive. And in just about any area, giving to others with no expectation of return increases your overall success. And by developing a giving mindset, you put yourself in a position where people feel like they can rely on you, and in return, they will also go out of their way to help you when you are in need. Excuse me, hold on. Ooh. So, developing the giving mindset. What is something that you can do for people that nobody else really does? A lot of people like to focus on me, what can you do for me, but no, not what can I do for you. Grant Cardone talks about this. I think Gary Vaynerchuk touches on it a little bit better, where I haven't read the book yet, but jab, jab, jab.
Hook. Right hook. Jab,
Right
jab,
hook.
jab, right hook.
So that's another one on the list of books I want to read, but I've also listened to so many of his talks now where he talks about this. He's just like, you want to constantly be giving to people, and eventually it does come back. And funny enough, it's always the givers who are constantly giving who actually end up becoming more successful, because since they are giving without the expectation of a return, more people trust them and feel like they can rely on them. Be a champion of people. So give praise and rewards to people who are working. When you build up a team, you need to recognize the people who are doing the work. People who are showing up to the events constantly, people who are helping out. We actually had awards set up back when we could actually meet with everybody. We had awards set up for like who showed up to every open house, who showed up to every training, who helped out when we needed it. And we had different awards to be able to recognize different people. Most people do not win anything. So by having these awards and recognizing people in front of everybody means a lot to people, and it really boosts up their self-esteem. And then when they feel really good about themselves, they're going to perform better. Most people in the workplace, if they don't feel like they are being acknowledged for their work dips. So if you want to be able to reach out to people and make sure that people feel wanted and that they're being recognized for those things. The difference makers. So who has most positively influenced you in your life? What specifically made the person so influential to you? What was the greatest lesson they taught you? And what values or traits did they inspire you to embody in your own life? I would honestly say there's a couple of people I thought were very influential, but one would definitely be somebody I met in another company. It was my second company. And when I first met him, he was very energetic. Energetic people attract a lot of people, but also he was very engaging. He asked me a lot of questions. How was I doing? What did I want to go off and do? And he spent more time talking to me about me and asking me questions, and his memory is phenomenal too. And I was so surprised that when I saw him later in the day, he remembered my name. And now he was one of these top performers in the company, and he's like, "Oh, hi, Miss Pember, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy remembers me." Remembering names, making it about other people, and being extremely positive and high energy really makes people feel comfortable around you. And you got to make sure that it's genuine. Make sure it's genuine interest, and people will be attracted to you, and that's where you gain a lot of that influence in the beginning. So to gain influence with others, teach them how to think about themselves, others, and the world. Challenge them to develop their character, connections, and contributions, and role model the values you wish to see them embody. So that was what he put. Really, in my mind, when I think of somebody who's a big influencer, somebody who's going to talk to his people, treat them well, but also be the role model of what to follow. Because people are only going to do half of what you're actually doing. So if you want people to produce, you actually have to show them the way and where they need to go. And then if they need help, tweak where we need tweaks. So with that, that's what I really have for this chapter. It was a little scrambled. I tried to put this in a better order. His writing is definitely interesting, to say the least. I was trying to, like, some stuff to me didn't really make sense in the order that he put it. And so that's what I got out of this chapter. Jeff, do you have any comments or anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, so when it comes to influence, probably the person who wrote the most books and the best ones I've seen on it, there's actually a book called Influence. So that's amazing right off the bat, because it'll teach you some of the techniques to be able to gain influence easily and quickly. There's no magic path to it, but there are ways to speed it up. I didn't know this growing up. This wasn't something that was taught to me. There was no class inside of any school that I ever went to that said, hey, here's how to influence people positively, because obviously you can gain influence negatively. But Becoming a Person of Influence by John Maxwell is a really good book. You know, some of the highlights that I took out of it were, you know, serve people. How do you serve people? You serve people by giving. You serve people by helping, which Brendon Berchard actually went over. Do more than is expected. That actually is a principle of Think and Grow Rich. Do more than is expected. You know, if it's an 8-hour workday and you're trying to skip out at, you know, 7:55, you're crushing your ability to influence others when it comes to, like, people seeing you as the person who, you know, is willing to do more, that, you know, people want to follow people like that. Don't complain. One of the biggest things I've seen, you know, people are like, I want influence, and then they spend the majority of their time complaining about everything that's going on. Very hard to gain influence with a group of people when you're the one always pointing out the flaws and everything else, because people don't want to be around that. Also, people think, well, if you're pointing out the flaws in that, you're probably going to point out the flaws in me. Listening to people. Character, doing what you say you're going to do. Jojo, what's happening, sir? Character. Doing what you say you're going to do. Acknowledgement, you know, Brandon talked about that, and Brandon in the book, just acknowledging people for what they are doing well, being able to point that out, being able to highlight that. People love recognition. Also compliments, you know, being able to find genuine things you can compliment people for. You know, there was a guy that I used to listen to and used to work with, actually. He was one of the top money earners in a company. And he was like, you know, if you compliment a lady on her hairdo, she will wear that until it rots off her head. He goes, if you compliment somebody on a shirt, that is their favorite shirt. They'll wear that shirt. Compliment somebody on their tie. Well, nobody's wearing a tie right now. You know, compliment somebody on their shoes or whatever. You know, it's funny. That goes back to, like, the Forrest Gump. You have really nice shoes. But the point is just complimenting people. I like to compliment, if you really want to get a lot of activity, so this is kind of more detailed, you can compliment the person will like you, but compliment the activity. If you compliment the activity, then you'll get so much more out of a person's ability. You know, complimenting their drive, complimenting their focus, complimenting their presentations, complimenting their ability to contact people, complimenting, like, all of a sudden they want to perform better because they're going to get more recognition. They're going to get more compliments. So you can kind of keep a person on focus, on task, by just complimenting them on, it's almost like compliment the activity that you want to see the most. It's a way to internally inspire somebody, you know, not necessarily motivate them, because motivation comes from the outside, inspiration comes from the inside. A person has to see it, but being able to compliment somebody definitely points them in the right direction. So Becoming a Person of Influence, great book. One definitely to get. Also, the 21 Qualities of a Leader. If you want to be influential, you have to have the qualities of leadership. It just helps so much. Making people laugh. That's one of the things I haven't seen listed in a lot of these, but making somebody laugh, it gets attention. I can't say that it always necessarily influences somebody, but you have the ability to get people attention. The problem with comedy and humor is it can go one of a couple ways. You know, it can go the wrong way real fast when it's, you know, race-based, it's rude, it's, you know, sexual, something like that. Like, you can really get off base real fast. So you really have to think that through, especially in the culture we have today that, you know, is so, I would say, hypersensitive to everything that's going on. You have to kind of think that through. But comedy is great. If you can make somebody laugh in the first 30 seconds of actually meeting them, It is amazing what can take place just overall, because you grab somebody's attention right away. You're like, okay, this is a person to listen to. It's very hard for somebody to dislike you when they're also laughing. So, making fun of, things you do, like, being, on time and being organized and things like that, because the majority of us have issues with all that stuff. So what else? That's kind of what I have. Those two books, Becoming a Person of Influence and the book Influence. You can look that up, order either one of those on Amazon. Definitely a good one to get and go through. The 21 Qualities of a Leader is just a third book that I would recommend getting. I think those spell it out simpler than what this book does. So that's what I got.
All right, cool. So if you guys would like these notes, even though it was a very short note, if you guys would like these notes, and if you haven't subscribed to the subscription list yet, I'm going to put a link in the comments below so that way you can add your email and then we can send those emails to you. And also don't forget to follow us on YouTube by searching MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. We're uploading each one of these to YouTube so that way you could go back and rewatch them later. So with that, we will see you guys tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you then.